Hello, everyone. Today I'll tell a story about how my husband's sister fully exploits him, and he seems to be oblivious to it. My husband has a sister with whom I'm in conflict. The only one who can resolve it is my husband, Vadim. However, he is not in a hurry to address this issue. My patience is running out, and I'm afraid that soon's is running out, and I'm afraid that soon the only way out of this situation. Vadim and Lyra had a difficult childhood. Their father developed a drinking problem, which led to him losing his job. The family's well being fell on the fragile shoulders of their mother. Initially, she managed to cope, working and taking care of the children, actively involved in their upbringing. However, after a couple of years, the nightly glass of alcohol with dinner turned into joint binge, drinking with her husband. Vadim had to mature early. At the age of 14, he started working to support himself and Lyra, who was 6 years younger. From time to time, Vadim's parents remembered they had children. Vadim asked them to find jobs, help with household chores, because he was afraid that the truth would come out and their parents would lose their parental rights, and he and his sister would end up in an orphanage. Sometimes it seemed like things were improving, but faith was instantly extinguished when his father relapsed. His mother followed suit. Vadim mentioned how much his close friends' parents helped them, living next door. His friend's mother invited Vadim and Lara for dinners, offered them to stay overnight when they heard drunken arguments through the walls. Vadim took on the responsibility of Lyra's education and upbringing. In fact, my husband replaced both her mother and father. Vadim took Lara to school, helped her with homework. Teachers noticed that Vadim's parents didn't attend catcher meeting parents teacher meetings. Vadim lied to the teachers, saying that his parents were ill, couldn't make it, or he forgot to inform them. They didn't report to the guardianship authorities because it wasn't customary, and they didn't want to disrupt the children's lives. After completing 9 grades, Vadim decided to stay in school. It was easier for him to take care of Lyra, and he had good relationships with the teachers. Learning that Vadim was working after school, the teachers were understanding. After school, my husband got a job at an auto repair shop, earning decent money, and he rented an apartment where he moved in with his sister. Vadim believed that Lera should grow up in a calm environment, and there was no point in relying on their parents. Lera is not an industrious person by nature. She wants to achieve great success with minimal effort. After finishing 9 grades, she planned to enter a music college because she wanted to become a singer. However, Vadim insisted that she get a general education. After the 11th grade, Lyra forgot about her dream of becoming an artist, and not wanting to lag behind her classmates, chose a university. She ended up majoring in foreign languages. Vadim's dream came true. His sister received a higher education. By this time, Vadim's parents had passed away, leaving them with an inherited apartment. Deciding to do a good renovation and save money, the brother and sister started living together in their parents' apartment. At the age of 27, I met Vadim, and after 6 months, we rented an apartment and started living together. My encounter with Lyra happened spontaneously. She decided to spend the night at home after a disco instead of staying with her friend. Coming home, she caught Vadim with me, and her facial expression clearly showed that she was not happy about it. Once we decided to go for a walk together, and Lyra was literally hanging on Vadim. From the outside, it could look like a couple rather than a brother and sister. Later, I noticed how Lyra would call my husband for trivial reasons. Initially, I tried not to pay attention, but later it became irritating. It's like we are not a couple, but a trio. Let the sister call rather than a lover, my friend laughed. Maybe it is, but as I later found out, the sister is in no way inferior to a lover in terms of needs. Whether it's helping with grocery shopping, cleaning the siphon, fixing a washing machine, or replacing a light bulb. It reached a point where I don't see Vadim on weekends, or our plans may be completely ruined. Such a young and vibrant girl. Isn't there a boyfriend nearby who can help with household matters? She's used to me always solving her problems, my husband replied with a smile. So it's time to explain that your light is not for her alone, and she needs to find her own husband. But the cherry on top was when I found out that my husband secretly financially supported Lyra for 6 months without telling me. As it turned out, during all this time, she was unemployed. Not only did he already pay her utility bills, but he also bought her a vacation package to Turkey to relax after the school year. She works at school, and from there she quit her job and has been exploring herself for the past 6 months at the expense of our family budget. The nerve! My husband and I had a falling out. I'm trying to convey to him that a sister is a family member, someone close to him, but she has simply settled on his neck and put her feet up. Emotional attachment is one thing. Jealousy at the beginning of our relationship is another, but this has been going on for years. I'm not ready to share my husband with his sister, especially when someone else is living off our expenses. If he doesn't put her in her place, we'll have to get a divorce. This is a story about how my husband's relatives completely changed a woman's understanding of family relationships. I'll be honest, I genuinely envy the relationship in my husband's family. It's the kind of family I've always dreamed of since childhood, a family filled with love, mutual respect, where you're valued, always understood, helped, and listened to. I never witnessed such a thing in my own family. I grew up in an ordinary family where no one drank, and my parents worked. I can't say we lived luxuriously, but there was always enough money. My sister and I were never deprived of material things, but the family lacked love, affection, and mutual understanding. Parents didn't choose their words carefully when arguing with each other. Shouting, fights, insults, and slaps were the order of the day. For any mistake, they could shout at or insult us. Due to constant negativity from my parents, my self esteem was extremely low. My father always said I was stupid and wouldn't be able to get a good job, thinking I could only end up as a janitor or something like could only end up as a janitor or something like that. I didn't believe I could independently enroll in university. So after the ninth grade, I decided to go to another city, enroll in a culinary school. Even here, I couldn't escape negativity from my parents. You're going to leave. You'll see how they live in the dormitory. You'll come running back home sweet as can be. And if you also get pregnant there, I won't let you into the house, so be aware. You'll disgrace the whole family. And you won't cope with your studies. It's not like school anymore. My mom said. I never even thought that I could appeal to some guy. As I mentioned, My self-esteem was lower than the floor. I tried hard, studied, went home every weekend and during vacations, helping my parents with household chores. When my sister also went to study in another city, the situation in the family became even worse. She, unlike me, didn't come home on weekends or holidays, and I had to answer for both of us. When I finished culinary school, I decided to stay in the city. Learning about this, my parents made a scandal, threatening to come and take me with the police. My father said he wouldn't give me a penny, that I would crawl back to him on my knees, begging to return to the parental home. After such words, I firmly decided that I would never ask them for anything. Well, how's your adult life going? My mom asked me on the phone with a smirk. My adult life was developing quite well. Contrary to my parents' wishes, I rented an apartment with two of my classmates. It wasn't too expensive. In the last year of my studies, I started earning some money. At first, they paid me a little, but then, after I finished studying, I was offered a job as an assistant chef with a decent salary. Then came the most interesting stage of my life. I met my future husband. That's when I felt care and warmth for the first time, realizing that I was beautiful. We started living together almost immediately. A little later, he introduced me to his family. I have to say that after meeting his family, my world turned upside down. I wasn't very eager to introduce him to my parents from the beginning, but now I couldn't even imagine how to do it. When he took me to his parents' house, I was surrounded by warmth and care. At first, I was afraid of doing something wrong to avoid offending them and losing such a relationship. But this care and love were absolutely genuine. His relatives started calling me often just to chat, inviting me for walks, inviting me over, wanting to know more about me and my life. I cherished them a lot. Their attitude towards me was so warm that I felt very comfortable with them and felt like a full-fledged member of their family. Unexpectedly, I became pregnant. Then I started worrying a lot that we would have to move up the wedding to an earlier date. We had planned to get married, but a little later. My mother-in-law supported me. Don't worry, you can't stress out right now. We'll choose a dress for you that will hide your belly. There are many beautiful models being made these days. However, the attitude of my parents left much to be desired. I knew it would be like this, my mom lamented. Although you got a decent husband, you won't be left alone, and you won't hang a child on us. Don't expect any money from us. You wanted to play the wedding yourself, get pregnant yourself. Now deal with it. My dad added in unison with my mom. And don't expect any money from us. You wanted to play the wedding yourself, get pregnant yourself. Now deal with it. My mom said to me just before we left. I couldn't calm down for a long time after visiting my parents because of pregnancy and the corresponding hormonal background. I perceived everything even more painfully. A few days later, my mother-in-law came to visit. She already knew about the trip to my parents, about my condition after it, and she was very worried about my well-being and its impact on the baby's health. Would you like to see a psychologist? Since you've been living with this since childhood, a psychologist will help you cope with everything, and you'll feel better, my husband's mom suggested. But I don't have any problems with my head. Why need a psychologist? My mother in law laughed at such an answer and convinced me that a visit to a psychologist is not related to any head problems. I myself worked with a psychologist for almost 6 months. He helped me get back on track after my parents' death. I couldn't cope with it on my own for a long time. She told me, "Your current state can be dangerous for both you and the baby. Go at least once. If you don't like it, you won't go again." She found a good specialist for me. After this session, I did feel much better, and I decided that I would continue to see a psychologist. We had a lot of work ahead, but I couldn't strain myself too much at the moment, and we decided it would be better to do it after the baby was born. My parents didn't come to the wedding, saying they were afraid of getting sick. I wasn't too upset about it. They hinted that it would be nice to postpone the celebration for them, but of course we didn't do that. We didn't plan a grand wedding. We gathered together with my husband's family and my best friend. My parents didn't even call to congratulate us. They were also absent at the baby's discharge from the maternity hospital and at his christening. I invited them to every holiday, but they just declined. After a while, my mom started demanding that we come and help her with the garden and help her with the garden and household. She was upset that I didn't offer help myself, and she had to remind me of such obvious things. My arguments that my husband had work and our son was only 3 months old, and I couldn't leave him for a minute, didn't satisfy my mom. "We raised you all your life, and you grew up so ungrateful. Your husband will leave you for another woman, and then you'll come crawling to us, begging to let you come back. Who needs you now with a child?"
My mom shouted at me over the phone.
These words deeply hurt me, and after that I avoided dealing with my parents for a long time. For some time, I tried to make contact, but there was no reciprocity. I stopped contacting them, and they didn't call or write to me. I am happy that now I have my own large and close knit family. I will be grateful for it all my life to my husband and his relatives.